Yo, 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 what's going on, everyone? Welcome to a DFS strategy video for the 2026 Farmers Insurance Open. I almost forgot that. I was going to say 2026 Farmers Insurance Open. As I always do in these strategy videos, I like to go over the course and tournament information, pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I like to go into what I call the bucket system, which if you're new to the channel, it is an exclusive tool that I use to try to narrow down the golfers that we want to put in our lineups this week. And then I go into the Marquee Tee Times, which also help us narrow down what golfers to put in our lineups. And then at the end of the video, I like to use the optimizer that I have to build lineups for each and every one of you. Now, the thing is, you do have to be a member on YouTube in order for me to build lineups for you. It's relatively cheap. You only have to be a red tier member, which only costs you $1.99 a month. So if you would like lineups built for you later on in this video, become a red tier member and you'll get a little badge next to your name. So outside of that, I just want to remind you guys that this is a live stream and I will be talking to chat whenever I can. Basically, I'll try to do that between each segment. So I'll talk about a segment, talk to chat, go move on to the next segment, talk to chat, and so on and so forth. That way I can answer questions on the fly. And if you want to use the timestamps down below, if you're watching this on replay, it should help you skip past some of those parts if you don't care to listen to those. So now I got that out of the way. Just a reminder, I do giveaways on this channel. I do a weekly and a monthly giveaway. In order to get an entry into either of these giveaways, you do have to be subscribed to the channel and you have to participate on any of the videos that I have. Typically, what I try to do is I try to do a roll call at every 1 hour mark. And it's just basically whoever's in chat, I will say, hey, please put this in chat. Give me your favorite golfer, whatever it is. Based off of your participation, I then enter you into next week's giveaway, which also goes into next month's giveaway. So that is one way you can participate. Another way you can participate on the channel is by commenting after this video goes from live to replay. Because if you didn't already know this, once it goes from live, or once the live button ends or the broadcast ends, it goes to replay. And then it becomes a YouTube video. So if you could do me a favor and go comment afterwards, you can get an additional entry into each of these giveaways. So that's how you can help me, and it's my way of helping you by doing these weekly and monthly giveaways. I also have a SweetSpotDFS.com giveaway where I'm giving away $1,000 worth of giveaways. One being a lifetime membership to the website, and another one being an annual membership, and then two $100 cash giveaways. To enter into this, you don't have to be subscribed to this channel, but you do have to have an account at SweetSpotDFS.com. There's a link for it in the description down below. Go click on that link and then go create yourself an account if you haven't already. I will use the email provided in that sign up as your entry. So I get a distribution list based off of that. And then that is how I will run this giveaway once it happens. Now, in order for me to do the giveaway, I have to reach 1,000 subscribers on this YouTube channel. Now, I know I just told you guys you don't have to be subscribed because you don't. But if you want to help get to this goal, obviously, please subscribe. So those are the two giveaways that I am doing. I always forget to do this, so I'm going to go ahead and remind myself to do it right now. I do have a cheat sheet that you guys can follow along with. I actually have to make an update to this right now because when I was streaming with Byron on Sunday, I changed how the display was working. So let me fix that right now. Let me bring this down. There we go. That looks better. Okay. So I have a new cheat sheet for you guys. This one is a little bit it's very similar to the Google sheet that I have provided you guys before. I will have course history, recent form that you can just toggle through. And the reason that I have these buttons up here is because if I had it all the way across, I just don't want you guys having to scroll. It's just kind of a feature that I think is better than just having a long scroll that has this. Because if you remember, by the way, the old cheat sheet is down here, the Google sheet. So if you click on this and you scroll down, or if you click on this, you will have all of this information right here. So again, you would have to scroll across, and I don't really care for you guys to do that on the website. There are some things I will be updating to that cheat sheet that is currently missing. So if I were to go back to it and scroll up to the top here, you know, obviously I have course history, I have recent form, I have strokes gained last year, strokes gained last week, or last 7 weeks, and then strokes gained last week. If I go back to that old cheat sheet and I scroll across, you will see we have last week's scoring stats, which essentially are the strokes gained stats. I can certainly apply or add this stuff in there a little bit later, but currently I don't have that for you guys right now. But essentially everything that you normally get on this cheat sheet, I am also going to provide on the new cheat sheet. But this one is a bit of an upgrade from the last one. So you can use, again, the cheat sheet and follow along with me. Another thing that you can do is request the optimizer that we'll be using to build lineups later. That's what this looks like right here. This is the optimizer. It has everything built in. So everything that I'll be covering in this video will already be built into here. So you don't even have to really do anything. You can update certain pieces of it if you want. You can update the maximum ownership. You can go ahead and lock in certain golfers. It's really up to you. So if you do have 2 golfers you really like and you want to use the SweetSpot process to build lineups, you can use this optimizer. And again, all you'd have to go do is go to the website. Under Fantasy Tools, there is an optimizer. Click on that. This page will open up and a pop-up will show up where it says enter your email here. You hit that and then hit request now. I get an email that says that you are interested in receiving this optimizer, and then I send it to your email. But I will note this, it requires me to see it with my eyeballs and then physically send it to, well, through email, obviously. If there's a bit of a delay, it could be because I'm at my 9-to-5 job. It could be because I'm sleeping, and I apologize for that. But I will try to send it to you whenever I get the opportunity to. So this is available for all of you. And that's it. That's all I have for kind of the housekeeping items. So, like I said, it is a live chat. I do see Phil Smart in the chat. What's going on, Phil? Nice to see you. If anybody else in the chat wants to leave questions, go ahead. I will answer them as I get to the end of each of these segments. And that's really all that I have for you guys. Oh, I will say this. One other thing. Sunday nights, I have spoken to Byron Lindeque, who is the Back 9 Bets YouTube channel, also the Model Maniac. We are trying to do a Sunday night recap pod and look ahead show where we're going to be dual streaming, where obviously I will have it. Well, what that means is I will have a stream on my channel. He will have a stream on his channel, but we will be together talking about, you know, a recap of the tournament and then a look forward or look ahead to the next event and maybe some quick research types of things. So look forward to that. That'll be Sunday nights. And again, if you comment on those videos or if you comment on that video for my channel, that will get you an additional entry into the giveaway. So I did want to add that. Nice to see Phil Smart. Dave Dean says he enjoyed the Sunday night stream with Byron. Yeah, it should be a nice little mix up to have, you know, another person talking and we can bounce ideas off of each other. And then I also like to do, or like the idea of a recap show. You know, what did we do well? Maybe if we won some money, we can, you know, celebrate that to some extent. Or if any of you guys win money and you want to come into the chat and celebrate, we can celebrate with you. But yeah, it should be a good time. So All right, that is all that I have. Let's go ahead and get into the golf course and tournament information. All right, here at SweetSpotDFS.com, I have a page, a tool called Golf Course Stats. You can go to this one and put in the golf tournament. I do have last week's in there right now, but it is the Farmers Insurance Open. And the one thing to note right away, well, you do have to put in the golf course that you want to look at. There are 2 golf courses this week. We have Torrey Pines North and Torrey Pines South. Now, they are going to play Torrey Pines South 3 times during the tournament, those that make the cut, that is, and then they will play the North course once. So you'll have a Thursday, Friday, they'll play one course one day, one course the other day, and then those that make the cut will then just go play the South course. Very much similar to last week where there was a 3-course rotation. The only difference this week is that it is a 36-hole cut and not a 54-hole cut. One thing I noticed last week is that when I was on the American Express for this tool, and let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see. When I cycled through the golf courses, it wasn't updating the hole-by-hole shot shapes down here, or scorecard, if you want to call it that. And I fixed that. I fixed it on my end. That's part of the, updates that I have to do. I didn't really notice that before, like last year or anything like that. But cycling through the golf courses will show you the architects for each of them and the renovation architects, which I'm kind of doubting that that was the case for both of these. So I will have to look into that. I thought I had it fixed, but oh, okay, there we go. I didn't see that it went from Tom Weiskopf to Reese Jones. But you can see it's overseeded. We have the base layer up top, and there is an overseed. A lot of people are going to be talking about Kikuya. That isn't as prevalent during this time of the year, whereas the ryegrass overseed is. And just to touch up on overseed, I didn't really touch up on it last week. I think it was just one of those. If you've been around the channel long enough, you kind of already know, what overseed is, because I do explain it in depth most of the time. If a golf course requires overseed, it means that the base layer is just not strong enough. Or not so much strong enough. It's just not thick enough. It can't cover the golf course as the superintendent wants it to, or the tournament coordinator needs it to be. So they do put overseed on there to help make that rough a little bit healthier. Now, what I have at the South course is 3-inch rough, and at the North course, also 3-inch rough, but I think that might be wrong. I think it's 4-inch rough. One thing I can do really quick is kind of do the old school way of the tournament fact sheets. If you didn't know about this, this is available to everybody, gcsaa.org. You go into the Farmers, and it is a 4-inch overseed. So I'll have to update that on the website. But yes, that's what I thought. It was a 4-inch overseed, which means the rough is going to be healthy. It's a healthy length. That's going to be difficult to extract golf balls from. I know a lot of people were talking about driving accuracy earlier in a lot of the streams, or just driving distance. Both of those things work out exactly. I mean, driving accuracy means you're going to be hitting the ball in the fairway more often, and that's obviously going to, kind of avoid this thick rough. And then driving distance basically means the golfer is strong enough to extract the golf ball out of the rough. So yeah, you can look at it either way, but let's just point out the obvious. You find yourself in the rough more often than the fairway, you're going to have a difficult time scoring. And it doesn't matter if you're a strong hitter, because some of these approach shots are just going to be different. Approach shots with wedges are much easier than approach shots with 5-irons. Golfers that are trying to hit the ball out of this thick rough with a 5-iron, they're not going to have that much success. Doesn't matter how strong they are. So you can mix and match however you want to. You don't have to go all bombers, and you don't have to go all driving accuracy, guys. You want to use off the tee stats for any type of research, perfect. Go and do that. But one thing I want to note with a lot of these golf course and tournament information segments that everybody does, including myself, this is going to be changed at some point in time. I'm going to do like little YouTube shorts to show you guys the most important stats, or the stats to look at, because what you want to do with the stats you find on this page, you know, the turf grass or the overseed grass, if you want to use, you know, the architect, whether it's the guys who built the course or the renovation architect, you can use any of those tools. So if I were to go to the strokes gain stats here, you can come over here. I have a grass stats filter. You can scroll down and check out any grass that you want to look at. We have fairway grass, tee grass, rough grass. So if you truly wanted to get into the Kikuyu, you can certainly go ahead and drill down on that. And the golfers that are found on this page, the top right segment here, these are golfers in the field this week, but you could go ahead and look up any golfer that you wanted. So if you were interested in, let's just do Grazerman. Let's say Max Grazerman is a golfer that you're interested in. You just drill down on that and you can see for Kikuyu Rough that we have right here in this filter, here are his finishes. And you can do whatever you want with that information. You can see his strokes gain stats breakdown. These are his average strokes gain stats. These are the events that go into those strokes gain stats. So you can do that. And this applies to all of the filters that I have. You can also apply that to the Pass Optimal and GPP Winner tool that I have here. So you can go ahead and put down Kikuyu, and then you will find all the courses that have Kikuyu Rough. That's entirely up to you how you want to use this tool. But the whole purpose of going over, you know, these golf course and tournament stats is just to give you the data points that you can use for researching. Obviously, the grass stats are important. I also, by the way, I do have shot shapes that are preferred, not necessary, but preferred. Preferred just means the hole is lined in the way that I have the shot shapes on the screen. And for the North course, I have this little summary box that's on the top right of this page. It shows you the off the tee shot shapes, approach shot shapes. You can see there aren't many for draws or fades. The North course is relatively open, where you could hit any shot shape into any of the holes. It really depends on where they put the pin positions. And because I'm doing this on a Tuesday, I don't know where those pin positions are. So I can't really give you which shot shape is going to have more of an advantage over another. You guys can certainly do that. You can obviously use the website. Once you get the pin positions that usually come the night before, the PGA Tour releases those the night before, you could certainly use that. Come to here, or you don't really necessarily have to come to here, but you can use the shot shapes, and then kind of that same, any of these tools, by the way, any of these tools, you go under the little golf course icon, you can see there's shot shapes under here. So you can see when a golf course requires more off the tee fades, off the tee draws, or anything like that. And it's not going to show you so much the Farmers Insurance Open, but it'll just show you when, say, you know, the preferred shot shape is a draw and there's like 3 holes where you really want to hit draws. You can go ahead and put that in this filter, and then that will filter out a lot of these stats. And again, if I went to Max Grazerman as the golfer that I'm interested in playing, he will then be filtered out by all the golf courses that have that stat. And just to show you what that looks like, I'm going to change it from 3 to 4. That should update. Yeah, there we go. Now it's even trimmed down the tournament selection that applies for 4 approach shots that require a draw. And then again, you can see what his strokes gain stats look like. You can see what his results look like. So you can use the golf course stats page to find some interesting details about a golf course, and then use the data points to then filter out whatever tool that you're looking at for here at SweetSpotDFS.com. Because anytime that you see this little filter pane over here with all of these icons, You can use all of the data points that you can find on that golf course stats to filter down for the golfers that you're looking for, or the golfers that just have better results. So let's put it that way. So that's what I have for the golf course. Now I can go back to the cheat sheet to some extent and show you some other pieces of information. So we have 100, should be 147. I forgot to add the additional 6 onto into the website. That's a quick fix. I can do that after the stream here. But it's 147 golfers in the field. You will have top 65 in ties for the cut. Your strength of field's 475. It's pretty good. I was on a podcast with Byron Sunday, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the strength of field for the American Express wasn't that high, and it was like 530, which was the highest that we've ever seen the American Express, and it is higher in comparison to a lot of events on the PGA Tour. And that's primarily because Scotty was bringing 53 strength of field points into that tournament. I do things the old school way when it comes to strength of field. I look at the OWGR ranking, and then if you remember the old school way, the OWGR had a table where like first place was equal to X amount of points, and so on and so forth. And then they had whatever that tour, wherever they were playing, whatever that tour was, whatever their, you know, season stats were for the, well, for PGA Tour, it's the FedEx Cup. You'd also have what the first place points were for the FedEx Cup stats. And then you would combine those OWGR with FedEx, and then you'd also give it like a little bonus, which I don't do because that was too difficult to really understand. So anyways, I only mention that to show, to let you guys know what goes into my strength of field, because if you do go to the OWGR, you're not going to see a strength of field as high as 475. I just like the old school way because it really shows you the differences of what like 475 is versus like 600 or 200. You know, the new way, it's a bit more bunched when it comes to strength of field, and it's kind of harder to determine unless you sit down and actually, you know, understand it. It's harder to determine what tournament is harder than another. So anyways, 475. Now what I can do is use my old spreadsheets to show you, or to go over the old strength of field. So this year, again, 475. Last year was 341. The year before that was 414. So that's a bit closer, and that's the one that Matthew Pavon won. In 2023, your strength of field was 318, so going down. In 2022, it was 463. So this was very similar to, or this year is very similar to 2022. That's a very, very similar strength of field rating. That one, Luke List won, followed by Zalatoris, and then John Rahm at 11,200. In 2021, I did not capture what the strength of field was. So I don't have that for you guys. But what I can tell you is, as we went through each of these years, saw a lot of 10K golfers inside the top 5, inside the top 10. But you saw a lot of 7K golfers winning the event. I shouldn't say a lot, but three of the last 5 years, we had a 7K golfer winning the event. It was $7,300 Harris English last year, with $7,300 Sam Stevens in second place and $7,000 Andrew Novak in third place. Remember, last year the tournament was very windy, so I imagine that resulted in some chaotic, you know, differences for a lot of the golfers. In 2024, it was Matthew Pavon at 7,100, Nikolai Højgaard 84, and Steven Yeager 78, with Nate Lashley 65 and Jake Knapp 6,400. So very cheap golfers in 2024. 2023 was 91, 83, 10, 93, 87, and then 7,700, or no, 7,000 flat Sam Ryder. 2022 was Luke List, and I'm not going to go through all of those, but anyways, yeah, strength of field this week is very similar to the previous weeks. So you can kind of, I don't know, you can analyze those leaderboards and kind of come to your own conclusions. It does, when we get into the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups, I'm going to go more into the salaries there, but that's how I would look at what do we see more frequently. I also would look at the 10K golfers and just see how they performed with similar strength of fields. And oh, by the way, you can certainly use strength of field when it comes to adding filters to whatever tools you want to use. I have strength of field old and strength of field new. I just went over strength of field old. So if you wanted to go ahead and put like, let's go like 375. Actually, let's go 400 to 500. I think that's probably the worthy range to use for strength of field. Again, this will remove all of the tournaments that don't fall within that strength of field. It will show you the events down here. It will show you the summary of the golfers in the field if they actually have any rounds that are recorded within those tournaments that had those strength of fields. Just throwing that out there. You might see some golfers not show up. So I'm going to use Max Grazerman once again. And you can see he has 16 events. And now it's, you know, like all the filters we've done with Max Grazerman, they all were good except for this one. And you can see where those events ended up. One was the Farmers Insurance Open. You had the American Express from 2024. Anyways, you can do this. Again, I'm giving you data points that you can use for filters on any of the pages that I have, or if you have your own tools that you're looking at, they should provide for decent filters for those. So, is there anything else that I need to talk about when it comes to the tournament? I don't think so. We have 28 total golfers inside the top 50 of the OWGR. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this stat up here. I just felt like just adding it. I do have a tournament. I am working on another tool that will just give you tournament stats, much like I have golf course stats, which is just pinpointing the golf courses and giving you just the, you know, the breakdown of what those golf courses have for stats. The other one's going to be tournament stats. So it'll give you the strength of field. It'll give you how many golfers are in the field. And then again, you can still apply those filters that I just showed you to show you which tournaments qualify for those filters. So that's the next tool that I'm going to provide you guys. I don't know if I'll get it out there for you next week because I will be out of town this entire weekend. And yeah, I'm not going to make any promises, but it will be your next tool that'll be out there, is to look at tournament stats. All right. Yeah, I think that's it. I went over, there are 2 golf courses. There's a 36-hole cut. We went over strength of field. Top 65 in ties make the cut. One of the, again, with the tournament stats, you'd be able to see what the average winning score is, what the average cut score is. Again, that'll come out to you guys in the future. I don't have that stuff right now. So that's all for the golf course and tournament information breakdown. What's going on, everyone? Like I said, this is a live stream, so I'm going to say hi to all the people in the chat. CG1353, what's up? CG, is your name Cody? I can't remember. Let me know, because I'd rather call you by your first name than CG1353. Joanne, nice to see you. And JK Lawrence, nice to see you as well. Good to see y'all. All right, I'm going to get into the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. Again, if you guys have any questions, leave them in the chat. All right, when it comes to pass optimal and GPP winning lineups, I just want to show you, I have 2 tools on SweetSpotDFS.com that cover this. One is called Historic Salary Builds. The other one is Pass Optimal and GPP winning lineups. Pretty simple, right? Pretty easy, pretty simple. And what these tools allow you to do is kind of just do a deep dive as to really what salaries matter at this golf course, and then what types of builds matter with those salaries. I know a lot of people don't like to cover salaries, but you got to remember salaries are a lot like odds. And it is good to research odds. It's good to research salaries. They're power rankings. These show us, you know, what golfers, you know, that DraftKings thinks are powerhouses, or, you know, bottom of the barrel types of golfers. And then we get to determine, do they get those salaries right or wrong, or another way to look at it is, do the high price golfers underperform? Do the low price golfers overperform? And how often, how frequent, that kind of thing. So anyways, when it comes to looking at the historic salary builds for the farmers, a reason I like to look at this is if there's going to be 10K golfers that are successful, how do you build the rest of the lineup? Because with that is how successful are 6K and 7K golfers. If both 10 or if 10, 7, and 6K golfers are successful at this event, then you're going to want to build like a 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6, which is the #1 lineup. It is the most frequent lineup that shows up of the 3 lineups that I record every single week. And this goes back to 2018, where salaries started to show up for each of these events in DraftKings. So going back to 2018, if I've recorded a GPP wing lineup, then you will see GPP wing lineups. It's really easy to calculate the optimal lineup if you've got salaries, and very easy to calculate the SweetSpot optimal. Now, the SweetSpot optimal is any lineup that uses $49,600 the salary and above, and it's basically the best lineup unless the optimal lineup exists in that bracket. So if the optimal lineup is $49,600 and above, I will then grab the second best lineup for the SweetSpot optimal. And the whole purpose is to give you all the more reason to basically spend all of your salary. If you've watched this channel for a long period of time, I used to just straight up chase the optimal lineup. What that ends up doing is it looks at every tournament, it looks at every different salary build, and a lot of times your optimal lineup leaves thousands of dollars on the table. I'm here to tell you that is very difficult to build a lineup and be successful that way, because you open yourself up to more combinations of lineups. So my whole goal and what I want to provide you guys is an easier way to build lineups, like rules to follow to build lineups that are more successful. And the one thing that I've noticed is if you just constrain yourself to not leaving a lot of money on the table, you can actually find a lot of lineups that would take down a GPP. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about this tool right here, the Pass Optimal and GPP winners, is because if I go ahead and put the Farmers Insurance Open in here, and we just take a look at last year's GPP winner, so 2025, we can see that GPP winner used $49,800 of the salary and scored 473.5 points. Now, I also have some other additional information here where you can see the total ownership of that lineup. That's the cumulative lineup between all 6 of those golfers. You can actually see what the DK ownership is on this tool as well. And obviously total salary and total points. Now, what I like to do with this is, well, one, I compare each of the lineups. So if I went from GPP winner to SweetSpot optimal, the SweetSpot optimal used up all $50,000 of the salary and scored 507.5. Again, if I go to the GPP, that's 473.5. And I forgot, you can cycle through each of these buttons. You can't have multiple ones at the same time. But the SweetSpot optimal beat the GPP by 30 points. The optimal lineup scored 530 points. So 23 more points from the SweetSpot optimal and 60 more points from the GPP winner, basically. And then again, you can see all of the information here. It left $5,500 on the table. Now, you can go through each of these years however you like. Another thing you can do is, first of all, you can sort by any of these columns. I'd rather just keep it here because it's sorted by finishing position. But what you could do is, with the power of holding down the control button on your keyboard and the left click of your mouse, so you don't have to hold left click, but if I were to left click Harris English, it will select him, and then I can select the next golfer with control still being held down. And what you're going to find out is you can actually start building lineups on this tool, and you can see how much salary is being spent, how many points you're scoring, and what the total ownership is. So you can do whatever research you want to do. So I've just selected 6 golfers. That's too much money left on the table. So I'm going to get rid of Chris Ventura and see how much I need to spend. $9,400. Wow. So really, again, just go and check to see what kind of lineups you can build. I am trying to build something that is relatively close to that $50,000 salary, and trying to do so. Yeah, this one would be fine. Now, this was not the Sweet Spot Optimal. This is not the GPP winner, and I understand the shades of gray are kind of difficult to see, but I had selected Harris English, Sam Stevens, Chris Ventura, Sung J.M., Taylor Pendrith, and then down here, Keegan Bradley in 15th place. This scored 493 points. And if we go to the GPP winner, that scored 473.5. So now you can mess around on this tool and just try to like look at all the different types of lineups you can build, and also look to see what placement that your golfers need to be in to feel comfortable. Or I shouldn't even say it that way. It should provide you comfort that you don't need to be absolutely perfect, especially at the Farmers. Because if you go through each of these years and you just kind of scroll between the GPP winner, the Sweet Spot Optimal, and the Optimal, you're going to see a lot of points are left between. And that's because this tournament is difficult to forecast. Probably, I mean, I could make the argument that it's because nobody knows how to forecast this event efficiently or successfully. So you can go ahead and use all of these tools however you like. The thing I want to provide you guys is the 10-9-8-7-7-6 approach is the best approach, followed by 10-9, 3-7s and a 6, then followed by 10-2-8s, 2-7s and a 6. So 10K golfer with the little info box right here shows that of all the years that I record these salary builds, 82% of the years, again, this goes back to 2018. So we're looking at the last 8 years, or last 7 years, I should say. 82% of the time, we have a 10K golfer being represented in one of those lineups. You can also see in this little summary box right here, the lineups that did not have a 10K golfer in it. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if we drill down and we look, if it's the optimal lineup, we could probably ignore it. Look how much salary was used. Yeah, this was 2024's Farmers Insurance Open, so we can kind of ignore that. In 2018, another optimal lineup that left $2,200 on the table. We can kind of ignore that. We go down to this other one. This one was a GPP winner, so we don't really want to ignore this one. This one started with a $9,700 golfer, and then its lowest price golfer was $7,600. So there's a lot of stats that you can get that come from this tool. And then the next one is also a GPP winner, which went 9-9, 3-8s, and 1-6. That was the 2023 Farmers Insurance Open. So that's a fun one. That would be a fun one to look at, in my opinion. So if we look at who the golfers were, it was Max Homa at 9,100, Hideki at 9,000, Jason Day at 88, Sahith at 87, Justin Rose at 81, and then Eric Barnes at 63. It seems like a very unique lineup build. Scored 541. The Sweet Spot Optimal scored 554, so only a 13-point increase. And the Optimal scored 583. So that GPP winner was a pretty good lineup. Now I can, you know, if you want to deselect anything, just select it again and it gets removed. I want to build a lineup that beats 541.5 points from that year, because personally, I don't like building a 9-9, 3-8s, and a 6. So what I want to do is try to, you know, use this tool to build a better lineup if I can. And it looks like it might be difficult. Look at how many high-priced golfers are up inside the top 10. But I'm going to grab some of these low-priced golfers because I know I'm going to have to fit them in somehow. So let's go ahead and maybe we grab, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and grab a Sam Stevens and a Taylor Moore to go with Max Homa, Keegan Bradley, Colin Morikawa, and I have $9,000 left. Does 9,300 work? Yeah, it does. This is 49.9. So I went with a $10,000 Colin Morikawa, $9,300 Sung Jae, $9,100 Max Homa, $8,300 Keegan Bradley, and then I had two 6Ks. So that's a 10, 9, 9, 8, 6, 6. Now, I don't know about that. That doesn't really sit well with me. So I can start this over again. Let's start with Colin Morikawa again at $10,000 and put in Max and Keegan. Now I have about $22,600 to work with. That's like 3 7Ks. There's Sam Ryder at $7,000. Let's see if I put Taylor Moore in. Does this give me some wiggle room? Okay, that's too cheap. What if I went 76? Oh boy. Yeah, that doesn't really work out. So I'm going to get rid of the $8,300 and go with $8,700, which is still too cheap. I'm trying to be perfect with this. So maybe get rid of him and put in Sung Jae. Okay, so something like this works, which is a 10, 2 9s, 2 7s, and a 6. This scores 565. What was the GPP winner again? 541. Yeah. So anyways, different ways that you can see how lineups are built. I just can't showcase them because I would have to record them, and recording all those different iterations would be very challenging to do. So you can mess around with this though and try to find some lineups that you might be comfortable building, or some salary builds, I should say, that you feel comfortable building. But by and large, 10-9-8, 7-7-6, best way to start when it comes to building lineups here at the Farmers Insurance Open. And you know what? Let's go ahead and just, I'm going to go ahead and put in I'm going to put that salary structure in this optimizer. But I do want to show you what the most optimal lineup is with the optimizer. It is Cantlay at 10-1, English at 9-1, Gerard at 86, Knapp at 82, Grazerman. One of the reasons I used Grazerman for all of those filters is because he showed up here, and I've been messing around with this quite a bit before the stream, and just saw Grazerman show up quite a bit. So yeah. But anyways, if I were to go into this and make sure I select a 10K golfer, a 9K, an 8K, a 7, and we can put a 6K in there. Make sure that I don't have anything locked out, which I do not. And then I'll hit run optimizer. And this will give me a 10, a 9, an 8, a 7, and a 6. And there we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. It went with Xander Schauffele, Jason Day, Ryan Gerard, Sam Stevens, Michael Brennan, who I love this week, and Rio Hisatsune, or a nickname I like to call him if you guys never stick around when we build lineups, the Assassin Rio Hisatsune. Hadouken! Okay. That's going to cover the pass optimal and GPP winning lineup segment. Again, I think building a lineup starting with a 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 is the way to go. If you wanted to be more balanced and start with a 9K golfer, feel free. Feel free. You do have some wiggle room with that, but for this event, it definitely shows 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 is definitely worthwhile. By the way, I guess before I actually leave this segment, grass stats. You could go ahead and put grass stats into this. We're on POA, so put POA for greens, and then that can just, remove all the other events that do not have POA. If you wanted to filter down even more, we could go up to these tournament stats and just make sure that we have, a regular season event and not majors. I don't want a major, a playoff, or a team. Sure, we can add signature into it. That's fine. I'm not going to do alternate or anything like that. And then strength of field, we could also filter by this. And again, we have 470 and I went 400 to 500, but let's go like 5. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go 350 to 550. I'm going to open it up just a little bit more. So now that we have all of those filters in, we can again see what the most common lineup build is. It's 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Followed by 10, 9, 3 7s and a 6, 10, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6. So either way, it is kind of pointing that we kind of want to go. I don't know if I should call this the sweet spot method when it comes to 1098776, because I'm not the only person saying it, but I bet you if you went back from the first time I started saying it, I would have been the first person to say it. Oh, at least in that fashion. 1098776. So yeah, even more reasons to start out that way. Okay, done with that segment now. Cody goes, don't know why it shows that now. Yeah, I don't know what YouTube did when it came to the names. AJ Love says, hello everyone, I'm listening. Hello AJ, nice to see you. Normally I would go into a review of last week's tournament, but I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to keep this one relatively short to some extent. So what I'm going to do is get into the bucket system. After the bucket system, I am going to do a roll call. Actually, you know what? Let's do a roll call right now. I want you guys to put in what is your salary build method this week. And I'll show you the way that I would anticipate seeing it. Just do something like this, or you can actually write it out however you want. If you were to go 1098776 this way, it doesn't matter. But show me the salary build that you are most comfortable building this week. You can copy mine if you want. That's fine. That'll get you entries into the giveaway. And you know what? I forgot to run the giveaway, didn't I? All right. Well, you guys post that in the chat. I'm going to run the giveaway because I forgot to do that. I can't believe I forgot to do that. You'll see that down in the timestamps. So if you do win and you forget, you'll find the timestamps for the giveaway. I had 21 entries into the giveaway. 21 entries. Only Denny Berry went into one of my videos and commented on it. That was it. It was the only one. Because I only did one roll call last week, I then just went into my live chat from last week and just add anybody who posted. So if you participated in the live chat, I gave you participation points, basically. So anyways, 21 total entries. I'll go ahead. I think I have a drum roll still. John Bizzle. Congratulations, John. John, you win $5. Email me where I can send that. I think we've gone through this before and you've just credited it towards something. I don't recall. I can't apply it to YouTube memberships because YouTube doesn't allow me just to send memberships to people. So I can send $5 your way in any shape, way, or form, or we can bank it for merchandise. So anyways, congrats, John. I see you in the chat. Nice to see you, man. One thing I want to note is that since most of you guys are kind of, there's a bit of a delay between me posting what I did in the chat and me going over what basically my ask for the roll call. Make sure that the little live button, you've drilled down on the live button over there. Make sure you are live with me, because if you're behind, I'm not going to be able to ask questions and receive prompt replies. So just make sure you're caught up on the stream, or the little red progress bar or status bar. Make sure that's all the way over to the right. But yeah, congratulations, John. Congratulations. And these are already added to the monthly giveaway, so I don't have to do that. We can go ahead, remove that. And like I said, for roll call number 1, for the FIO. I have Wheels Up telling me that two 6Ks or two low 7 guys provide better leverage than one high AK star. We'll go ahead that. AJ Love says the dummy lineup. Love it. AJ says I'm promptly live. There we go, man. Perfect. So if you want an entry into next week's giveaway, this is roll call number 1. Just want to know what your salary build preference is this week. If that's too many digits, it's too difficult, let me know. We can come up with something else. I know when it's like when people are required to type something like a long thing, they tend not to. So this was just me just experimenting with that. I just wanted to see if you guys are willing to type in your salary build method for this week. All right, I will wait. Well, I won't wait, but I'll catch up and I'll see if you guys post anything else in the chat. But we are going to move on to the bucket system for the Farmers Insurance Open. Again, I have a tool called the bucket system under fantasy tools, the bucket system on SweetSpotDFS.com. It already has the Farmers Insurance Open loaded into this. If you wanted to look at any other event, you certainly can. But obviously, we are on the week of the Farmers Insurance Open, so why wouldn't we look? This is, again, provided for you. You do have filters under this little pane right here. You can click on any of the bucket IDs that you want to look at or the bucket names, hit the little X button to get rid of the little filter. But basically, all that this does for you and for me is show us which stats matter most at this event. Again, this is lead-in data. This is the thing that most of the industry fails to do, is analyze lead-in data, because how often are we told, hey, these are the stats that matter at this event? They're not talking about lead-in data. They're talking about the stats that are happening at the event, post results. So when they say driving distance or driving accuracy is the most important for this event, what they're saying is at this event, the golfers that do well, that finish inside the top 10, top 20, have high percentages of driving accuracy and high distances when it comes to driving distance. Or same thing goes with approach. So it's post results. It has nothing to do with lead-in stats. When they talk about that stuff, they are not looking at lead-in stats. But they want you and me to use post results of an event and apply that to lead-in data for the next event, which is obviously this one. Makes no sense. You never really see much correlation when it comes to that. So here I am going over lead-in data to compare every other year that this event has played, what the lead-in data from those golfers are bringing into those events and how well they finish, top 10, top 5, top 20. That's what you can see right up at the top here. This is all top 10 right here. Optimal lineups, top 5s, and top 20 stats. And then obviously the stat categories I have over here are pretty self-evident. I will have a little infographic that'll tell you, it'll just remind you what these are. Actually, I also have an article under articles that talk about the bucket system, and it goes over all the stats for the bucket system. So if you are at all confused, go read that and it should help you understand. So these are the buckets. And basically what you can see is for each of these stat categories, and again, we can use the filters here. So if we want to really like narrow our focus, and this way I can hopefully prevent you from being too confused. The first set of buckets I want to look at the last year stat. And all that the last year stat is, what did the golfer do last year? And what was their result the following year? That's essentially it. I obviously really only look at top 10s, but we can look at optimal lineups, top 5s, and top 20s if we wanted to. When it comes to last year's stats, golfers who top 20 in an event at the Farmers the year before, we have seen every single year produce a top 10 finisher. At least one. At least one. And a beautiful thing about this tool is you can drill right down into that little one, and we can scroll down to see the golfers that actually provide that, or the golfers that were in those buckets. Now, this is a very zoomed out look. This is looking at all the finishes, so you can actually look at all of the golfers if you want to. Taylor Penrith was our top 10 finisher last year. He came in with a finish from the year before of a 9th place. If we really only want to look at top 10s, because obviously if we scroll back up to this, that's all that we were really looking at, was just last year ones, top 20s. And again, we had a minimum of 1. So I can actually, again, scroll back down. And because I put this filter on for finishing positions of 1 to 10th place, now I'm just looking at top 10s. In 2025, there was only one golfer that fit that mold, and that was Taylor Pendrith. Again, if I want to look at every golfer from 2025, which ones kind of disappointed us? You had Hideki Matsuyama, who was 10-7, that, finished 32nd. Ludwig was leading this event at some point in time before he got very ill. I actually listened to a podcast with Smiley Kaufman talking to Ludwig. And he talked all about how he got sick during this week and then the following week. So had something to do with the wind and the cold temps, I guess. He picked something up and then it turned into the flu. Late the next week, actually, not the week at the Farmers. Something caused him to projectile vomit all over the place. So hopefully he doesn't get that this year. He kind of had a little bit of a sickness at the American Express, it appears. So I don't know. Either way, Ludwig was at the top of the leaderboard. There could have been 2 golfers from this bucket that would have finished inside the top 10. But of course, that didn't happen. Tony Finau missed the cut. That was a 10K golfer, so that's a notable guy, right? Also notable is Max Homa withdrawing. Last year for Max Homa, he was trying to figure out his golf swing, and it was actually from the fall before. It was like kind of from that time all the way throughout this whole entire 2025 season. He was retooling his golf swing, trying to figure out everything. I think he's in a better spot now, but obviously last year he withdrew. He had moments of brilliance last year at this event, and he just he had enough holes where it was just bad. It was really bad, like doubles. I think he even had a triple or a quad in there, but it was bad. Anyways, going back, just looking at top 10 finishers. 2025, there was 1, Taylor Pendrith. 2024, we had 2. 2023, we had 3. 2022, we had 4. 2021, we had 3. 2020, we had a bunch. Another way we can look at this is if we scroll even further down on the tools, because we drilled into that bucket 1, up here, because we drilled into this, again, if we use this tool and we scroll down, we can see top 10 counts. Actually, you can apply whatever filter from these buttons over here that you want. Right now, it's currently on top 10s. So you can see the numbers I was just showing you. There was 1 in 2025, 2 in 2024, 3, 4, 3, 5, 5, 6, 4, 4, 2, 4. 2020 or 2013 doesn't count because I started recording stats in 2013, but I didn't record stats for last year finishes because that would require me to record stats for 2012. And if I'm recording stats for 2012, why not, look at last week and recent form and all that stuff? So, and I would continue going in this revolving circle of going further and further and further back. So 2013 doesn't apply for last year. It doesn't apply for course history buckets. 2013 only applies for last week in recent form. So every year from 2014 on, and there was only 1 year where in 2025 that we only had 1 golfer from this bucket to only finish inside the top 10. Every other year had 2 or more. And in fact, only 2 years had 2, everything else had 3. Like it gets even crazier the more we look at it. So that was a very long-winded way to go over the bucket system, but here's the beautiful thing about the new cheat sheet that I provided you guys. We can click the bucket icon, and it's cute. If you click it, you see, boo, cash flies. All right, so we drill into that. We only want to look at last year 1 golfers. So here's the bucket, last year 1. We drill into that, and now we're only looking at the golfers that qualify for last year 1. And now the beautiful thing about this cheat sheet is we can drill into any of these filters. If we want to look at course history, the golfers with the best course history coming into this event, including their 2025 finishes, you can see that right there. you can certainly look at this now. And every button you go through does not disturb the filter that we currently have on here. So this is, to me, wonderful. It's beautiful. Also, the little info cards up here update as well. It shows you how many strength of field points represent this bucket, how many golfers are in it, and how many in the top 50 OWGR. So maybe in the future, I will actually have kind of a more expansive tool that'll let you look at every field that there ever has been, and you can actually sort through and see what those infographics are for each event and each bucket that were in each of those events. So this is obviously only pointed towards this week. And we can see the golfers. It's sorted by salary. You can sort by pretty much any category. There are some that I don't have currently routed the correct way. If you don't know Power BI, I'm not going to explain it to you, but there are challenges when it comes to sorting sometimes. But anyways, you can see even the last year one bucket is being presented for each of these golfers. And it's really up to you guys. What do you see that you like? JJ Spawn at 94, Keegan Bradley at 92, Harris English at 91, $8,700 Taylor Penrith. If you needed more of a reason to actually be excited to play Ryan Gerard, I guess I don't know how many more reasons you need to have to play Ryan Gerard. He's definitely going to be one of the most popular golfers to play this week, and he's in a bucket that shows up 100% of the time inside top 10s. At least one golfer from that bucket shows up inside the top 10 every single year. So you could look at it that way. The other beautiful thing with the bucket system is we can go back to that tool. And again, all of our filters are still in here. And if we scroll down, we can take a look at the golfers that represent this bucket in each of the top 10s. 88, 93, 10-6, 93, 88, 11-6, 7,600 Luke List. That's the first 7K golfer we've come across. 92, 11-2, another 76, Cam Tringali. Then it's 10-1, 10-7, 11-3, 11-3, 11-6, 9-3, 9-2, 10-8, 10-8, 8, 10-1, 8-8, 9, 7,200. So it would also, I mean, this would be another beautiful thing to have, is maybe having some info cards up here that kind of show you the counts of 10K golfers, 9K golfers, 8K golfers, 7K golfers, all that good stuff. But much like the other tools that I have, you can kind of look at other things like strokes gain stats. And again, the filters don't change. You're going to look at the same golfers. And so like, if we look at strokes gain total, holy crap, the golfers lead in stats that show up inside this bucket are phenomenal. Like I'm just looking at strokes gain total, but you could look at any strokes gain stat you wanted to and find some commonalities. But we could sort from top to bottom and just look at every golfer strokes gain total from this bucket to finish inside the top 10, what it was. What were their lead in strokes gain total stats? And we scroll down. 0.330, Cam Smith, who finished 9th. We could probably ignore that one. So we could look at 0.524 and above. That we could use strokes gain total as something. And this is 365 days. We're going back 365 days and looking at their strokes gain total leading into this event. Again, leading into this event. And then obviously their results in the bucket that they're in. Harris English, the worst one in 2018, where he finished 8th. Again, you could probably ignore that. So what we could do with this information that we just learned, so we could look at strokes gain total 5.89, go back to the cheat sheet. There's another tool I have, but currently this is only being looked at. We're only looking at the last year one bucket here. Whereas if you went to the strokes gain stats and applied something here, it's just not going to work out as well. But I could put in 127-2025, that's 1 year ago, and we can sort by strokes gain total. I don't have the buckets. I don't have strokes gain 1 bucket here, which would be nice to have, but I do have that for the cheat sheet. We're already on strokes gain 1, and if I go strokes gain last year, this is looking at 365 days from this date going back and looking at their lead-in data coming into this event. So again, I mean, this we can do the exact same thing. And if we sort from top to bottom, if we wanted 0.5 and above, basically the only golfers we really want to choose, Pendrith, Valimaki, Gerard, English, Bradley, Spahn. So we have like a tight-knit, tight-knit. I couldn't think of knit for whatever reason. Tight-knit group of golfers to select from. Now, you could expand that if you want. If you really like some of these other golfers down here, by all means do so. I'm a huge fan of Novak this week. I'm a huge fan of Potgieter. I'm a huge fan of Sam Stevens. I'm not just going to be super narrow with this, but I will say this. These are where anchor plays can kind of come into play. You know, do we want to anchor around some of these guys? What was the optimal lineup that I had? Okay, so we had Ryan Gerard and Sam Stevens in there. This was the 10-9-8-7-7-6 that we built with the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. So we got Gerard, there's one. And we have was it Sam Stevens? I already forgot. What terrible, yeah, Sam Stevens. I have such terrible short-term memory. There we go. So that works out beautifully. That works out beautifully. We got two guys from that bucket that we wanted. And oh, by the way, again, if I bring up the optimizer, you can see right up here. I know it might be difficult for you guys to see, but I'm highlighting the last year one bucket. You can see how many golfers the optimizer chose from each of these buckets. It selected 2. I currently have a minimum of 0 to 3. The reason, so I do need to add projections to the bucket system like I have on the cheat sheet. Again, if you go to the cheat sheet and you go to the bucket system, you can see the projections right here. And those projections go into this optimizer, and those are already on here for you. So you don't even have to think about, you know, what to choose, but we could probably choose at least one of these guys moving forward. You know, let's choose one last year one, because quite honestly, that bucket was not that bad. Like the golfers that are in this bucket, not so bad. Not so bad. So, this was a great representation of the tools that you can use at SweetSpotDFS.com. I mean, I am very proud of how this is all unveiling. This cheat sheet that I just created for you guys is exactly what I wanted this cheat sheet to do. I am going to have a few other buttons up here. One will have information, like golfer information, which will then kind of incorporate this section. If you remember, I provide this on the cheat sheet, which is shot shape, home state, home region, college state, you know, all this stuff, age, how many OWGR, or like what place in the OWGR they are in. Same with their FedEx Cup rankings from last year, and then the strength of field points that they bring in. So I will have this as a button eventually, but this requires me to update all the golfers in my database, and I have left that for the last thing to do. So I'm not even remotely close of having this even updated. So I'd have to do that first before I add that button. The other button that I want to add in there, was golfer info. Oh, Tee Times, the Tee Times and the Marquee Tee Times. That's another piece that I want to add in there, which that will probably come next on the cheat sheet, whereas this does not. And I'm also going to include a SweetSpot rank and also a model. So my model has always been the same, and there's a big reason to that. I've always wanted to be very consistent with my rankings, because they then can become a statistic that we can use to analyze for events heading, you know, for future events. If your model is always consistent and it's static, let's just say it's static, where golfers need to have specific they have to get to certain stat thresholds in order to be provided so many points in the model. I think that's a wonderful way of doing that. And I'm going to try to provide that at some point in time. I am on the back end kind of trying to write the code to do that. And I've got a few of the stats in there, like course history and recent form and all that stuff. OWGR, that was an easy one to add. But there are some other ones that I'm just not positive how to do just yet, mostly speaking grass stats. And at that level, I'm not sure I really care. Add grass stats. I might not even add them. I might incorporate, I might just say use the filters to filter down these scores, and I might make them live calculations. I haven't figured it out yet. This is just all me spitballing to you guys, being transparent with you guys that you might not even really care about. But anyways, that is also going to be a button. So you'll have like golfer information, marquee tee times, and then the model, essentially. And then also somewhere down the road, I am going to create a model for you guys that you guys can actually shift weights and stuff like you see on other people's podcast streams, whatever they're called, videos. So yeah, that'll be available for you guys as well. Okay, I'm not gonna dig into every single bucket. I'm gonna give you the kind of the zoomed out level. I zoomed in for you guys just for the last year one bucket, just to show you how to use the tools at SweetSpotDFS.com. A big push this year is to get you guys to come to the website and do this research on your own. And it's me kind of showcasing this. And then Wednesday nights when I go live for members only, we can kind of dig into it a little bit deeper. But the buckets that we see at least one golfer being represented inside the top 10. Last year ones, golfers who top 20 the year before. Last year fives. Actually, you know what? We can sort. This is another thing I forgot to mention that I keep forgetting to mention. You can sort by each of these fields. That's what makes this tool so freaking awesome. You can sort by all of these. You want to see 100% frequency. What's the highest success rate? You could sort by highest success rate. 10K golfers. Every year we have seen one 10K golfer inside the top 10. 40% of 10K golfers finish inside the top 10. That's what this 40% number represents. Followed by 9K golfers, almost 25%. But not every year do we see a 9K inside the top 10. You do inside the top 20. You can see that in the top 20 stats over here. But if I were to go, we could either do minimum from top to bottom, or you could do frequency, doesn't really matter. Where you see at least one golfer being represented inside the top 10 for each of these buckets. Last year ones, top 20s from last year, missed cuts from last year, and golfers who did not play. This also includes, actually, another tool that I'm going to build are combinations, are going to be bucket combinations, where you'll be able to see, okay, actually, let's just do this. Let's drill into the last year's 6 bucket. And then we scroll down. What I was going to get at is, well, how many of these guys don't have course history? If you drill down into it, and then you scroll down, we can again change this to finishing position, whatever you want to look at. I'm just looking at top 10s. We could look at top 14s, top 12s, top 20s, whatever you want to look at. Now you can see the golfers that are being represented into that bucket. Again, the bucket we're looking at are golfers who did not play from last year. You can scroll down and look at their lead-in data. Right here under course history, you can see how many of them had course history and how many of them did not. So if the number is populated in this column, that means they had course history. If it is not, that means they did not have course history. At least nothing from 2013 and to current day. So in 2024, Matthew Pavon won the event with no course history. Obviously, he didn't play. So didn't play, no course history. Same with Nikolai Højgaard. He got a second place finish. He was the runner up to Matthew Pavon. In 2024, Ludwig coming in did not have course history. Didn't play the year before, obviously. He finished 9th. Aaron Rai from 2020 or 2022, $7,000 golfer, did not have course history. Harry Higgs in 2020. Adam Scott. Now, we can imagine Adam Scott had course history at some point in time, but it would have been prior to 2013. So I apologize for that, but I'm not keeping stats older than 2013. Not right now, at least. And same applies to Rory McIlroy in 2019. Alex Noren finished second. I think that was the year he was in that playoff where JB Holmes took forever to finish, where I think Jason Day won, right? 73. Ryan Palmer probably had course history as well. So there is some of that. Just like any stat, I should say. I'm not even going to apologize, but like any stat, you should go and find context behind those stats. We can assume that Ryan Palmer had course history. I'm not sure about Jon Rahm. I don't think he did when he won this in 2017. Actually, no. Yeah, this was his rookie year. He won his rookie year, Farmers Insurance Open. That's right. That's right. He made that huge putt, or a couple huge ones, actually. And then you can see the rest of the guys. So, yeah, it's kind of a mix and match. You can also look at golfers who had really good course history or really bad course history that fit under that bucket and where they finished. Lots of course histories of missed cuts. That's what 85 means. I should have called it 86 because when you get 86th, that means you've been cut. Maybe that's what I'll do. That sounds so much cooler now that I just said it out loud. 86th. He's been 86th. So missed cuts would probably be a pretty high correlation with golfers who did not play from last year. So again, use the cheat sheet, go into the buckets. I'm going to remove the current filter I have and just look at last year's sixes. Top of that, we can also click on course history fives. And now you can see the golfers that fit, that did not play the year before and have pretty bad course history. Now, this does include a couple 81s with Keith Mitchell and Aaron Wise, but now you got Seamus Power, Marcus Bird, and Kita Nakajima. Maybe we don't really put all of our eggs into any of these baskets, but that's how you can use this tool to narrow down even further. I mean, here's the bucket of golfers who did not play. Do we think Marco Penge, I mean, him and Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson and Haotong Li, by the way, probably one of my favorite plays this week. Just throwing that out there. Also to go along with Michael Brennan. Freaking love Michael Brennan. Sign me up. But yeah, that's how I would kind of look at this when it comes to the bucket system. Is use the cheat sheet in combination with the bucket system. And it should work out well. Some more 100% buckets. Last week sixes. Golfers who did not play last week. This was one of those really interesting buckets. This week, there are a lot of golfers, I believe, that did not play last week in the field. I think, let me double check. I'm going to use this one. Oh, yeah, I need to add this. Bucket totals. Oh, yes. This is what I wanted to mention. Okay. Yeah, I do need to add this piece in there, and I also need to add the projections into my current bucket system because these are very pivotal pieces of information. Last week's sixes typically have, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more for you guys to see. Last week's sixes typically have 45 golfers in that bucket each year. This year, there's only 25. So it appears that this bucket was probably a volume-driven bucket, but now there's only 25 golfers in it. Another way that you could actually look at this, if you wanted to, is drill into the last week's sixes, like I said, and then scroll down. And I would come down to here with the bucket totals per year. And you could look, okay, that's top 10 counts. If we got rid of top 10 counts, this will take into account all of the golfers in that bucket. And I'm glad I did it this way. Because I showed you that there's 45 average on that one other, on the cheat sheet. Well, yeah, there are some years where we do see 46, 47, 47. But I imagine 72 back in 2015 is really making that number large as it is. But we see 38, 32, 41, 38, and yeah. So not a lot of small numbers. In 2024, there were 32. So if you wanted to, maybe what you could do is, again, you know, there's only 25. So if you wanted to go back and take a look at 2024, you could drill down into this, and that will limit this bucket right here. It will actually, it will also modify, I should say, or filter down this visualization right here, this visual aid. And it shows you the 3 golfers. And with this, you could then make the assessment, who really fits that mold? When there was 32 golfers that represented that bucket, and only 3 of them finished inside the top 10, 2 of them are European golfers. So again, if we went back to the cheat sheet and we take a look, again, this has the last year 6s in there. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We should look at last week 6s. My apologies. But at that same regard, we still have Marco Penge and Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson at the top. Now, that's a narrative. That's like one of those, you know, can't really quantitate, you know, like, did I just make up a word, quantitate? I think that's a word. I don't even know. I think I did, maybe not. Quantitate. That's not a word. Quantify is a word. Yeah, let's use quantify. You probably can't quantify that type of, and in all reality, it's not even a smart thing to even think about or to go with. That's not how you analyze statistics. But if it fits your narrative, by all means do so. You have 3 really good choices. You have Marco Penge, Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson, and Thorbjorn Olesen. They're all very easily, like, they're cheap, essentially. I'm going to sort by salary because it was sorted on strokes gained total, but I can sort by salary, and we can take a look at all the golfers that did not play last week. I want to just double check. Yeah, this is all last week. All the last week is empty. And what are the 25? Yeah, 25 total golfers. Okay, so all of it checks out. That's perfect. And this is looking at all their strokes gained stats. So 25 fits all within this graphic. Lovely. Or all within this visual. Yeah. Marco Penge, Nørgaard Peterson, Olesen, Christopher Wrighton, by the way, he also fits that mold. I can't remember what happened to him. I think he got sick as well. And if you wanted Justin Hastings, that's fine. Again, those are narratives. There's nothing you can quantify with that data. It is, yeah. It's fun to look at. It's fun to say, oh, hey, this might be a good time to do that. Might be a good time to go with one of the European golfers that are in that price bracket. Oh. Anyways, that is your last week 6 bucket. I also need to come down here and get rid of what I currently applied so I can look at all the buckets up here. Other buckets that had 100% representation inside the top 10. Course history 2s, course history 3s, recent form 2s, recent form 3s, 10K golfers, and 9K golfers. So I just wanted to mention all of that. I'm not going to go into each of these buckets like I have with the other ones because it, as you can tell, it kind of takes quite a bit of time to go through. If we were just to look at frequency numbers, there are some other buckets that were pretty darn close to having 100% representation inside the top 10. Last week ones, those are golfers who finished inside the top 20 at last week's event. If we scroll down, again, we can look at all the lead-in data, and we have it currently filtered by only looking at top 10 finishers at the Farmers. You can see each of the golfers that fit that mold, their price tags, and try to make some kind of correlation to go with it. We do see a lot of 10K golfers, by the way. A lot of 10K golfers. I believe Xander would fit that mold this year yet again. like he did in 2024. And then you can see all of the totals from that. It's about like 13 to anywhere between 13 to 22, but I would imagine the average of that is like 15. We went to the cheat sheet and we only looked at last week ones. We have 18 total golfers, so pretty much on par with what we see every single year. And again, that bucket, we look at top 10s, every year except for last year in 2025, has it provided a top 10 finish. I want to look at 2025. If I drill into this, we're going to see 0. That's fine. We can move this up just a little bit. Let's say 14th. Nope, don't see anything 14th. How about 16th? There you go. Bo Hosler finished 15th. That was close. That was close. That was close. He's not a top 10 finisher, but he was only 5 places away from making this last week 1 bucket a 100% frequency. Meaning, once again, it has there's been 100% representation golfers from this bucket finishing inside the top 10. And 100% representation just means was at least one. So that's close. I mean, that's close enough for me to consider that bucket pretty important. And again, the cheat sheet, here are your golfers with a last week 1 finish. Well, Jason Day is the one that just jumps off the page. He's got one of the best course histories. With multiple, again, we can actually go to course history and look at this. Jason Day, look at his finishes. He's got 4 missed cuts with 4 top 20s, 1 win, a 5th, a 3rd, a 7th. Pretty darn good. Yeah, Ryan Gerard has good course history, but he only has 1 finish, and that was last year. That was 15th. Sam Stevens hasn't missed a cut. He's got a 2nd place finish and a 13th place finish. It's really good course history as well. So you can make your decisions based off of this page. Again, filter out by the buckets. But again, I mean, guys, I actually could make a whole podcast based off the bucket system. I'm not going to do that because I don't need to spend any more time than I already have. Come to the website, SweetSpotDFS.com. Check out the bucket system. Have 2 windows open at the same time. Look at the buckets. Sort. You can use the filters from here to even dig into it a little bit deeper. And like I just showed you guys how to use the filters down here, you can do the exact same thing. Really dig in and find the golfers that you want to play. But to give you guys something, what I learned from doing this for you guys, there are a few golfers that really pique my interest. Jason Day being one of them, Ryan Gerard, Sam Stevens. I really like Pearson Coody. I want to play Pearson Coody this week. Hao Tong Lee. Hao Tong Lee's driving is so amazing. Or at least it was at the last week's event. But this stat profile from just looking at 365 days, just a full year, which I don't know how many events that would be. I could go into this page. Just do salaries here from top to bottom, go down to 7,300 and just look at Hao Tong Lee. 16 total rounds. And you can see that same stat profile is on the cheat sheet. $7,300, Hao Tong Lee. If you want to do a little, digging into the data, you can certainly do it here. It's an 8th place finish at the American Express, 2 missed cuts and a 4th place finish at the Open. He's priced the same price he was last week, and that was with Scotty Scheffler being in the field, the strength of field being higher. He's great when it comes to off the tee. High accuracy, hits the ball pretty far, and he ranks out really well in my model. So, and again, that was just looking at last week ones, but we went over a couple other buckets, right? Last year ones we even went over. From last year ones, we got Keegan Bradley. Gerard shows up again. Sam Stevens shows up again. Those are 2 golfers that were in both of those buckets. Now, when I get into bucket combinations, I'll be able to show you the frequency of those types of, when they're combined, how often do they finish inside the top 10? might be a lot. Maybe it's a Gerard or Stevens type of week. But you could go with anyone. I do like Keegan this week more so than I do Spawn or English. I do like Pendrith quite a bit as well. And then we also kind of looked at last year's sixes, right? Golfers who did not play last year. I mean, Patrick Cantlay, it would be a pretty darn good choice. You know, if we look at, he's in that last year or last week one bucket. He didn't play last year. That's actually pretty decent to go with. But any of these guys, honestly, Brooks Koepka's in that bucket, Adam Scott, Will Zalatoris. If you wanted to anchor around any of these 10K golfers, Xander, Cantlay, or Cam Young, no issues with it whatsoever. And then you just go from there. You got the European golfers, right, that we kind of went over. Marco Penge, Niergaard Peterson, Thorbjorn Olesen. There's Haotong. Again, another reason to play Haotong Lee. If you wanted to find a pivot, because I imagine a lot of people are going to be on Niergaard Peterson as well as Marco Penge, Haotong would be your man. I'm just going to throw that out there. If you are a game theory person, I'd go with Haotong. I'd feel really comfortable playing Haotong. So, all right. I told you I was going to be done with the bucket system, but I wanted to provide you something. I absolutely hate when content creators go over something. Oh, blah, blah, blah. These are all great. These are great. And there's no payoff to it. So I gave you a payoff for the course and tournament information. I gave you a payoff for the pass optimal and GPP win. Wow. Tried to say that way too fast. The pass optimal and GPP win lineups. And now the payoff that I gave you, the golfers that I like from each of these buckets. I hope you guys find some good information with that. Also, if you got any suggestions, let me know. I can make updates. I can do all these good things. Email me right there, SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. Or if you want to leave it in the chat and I can get to it at some point in time, maybe. Okay. Done with the bucket system segment. We're going to get into the Marquee Tee Times pretty soon, and then we're going to start building lineups. Again, if you want lineups built for you, you have to be a red tier member and above on YouTube. So you need to have that little badge that you can see some of the other people in chat. You need to have a little badge next to your name for me to build you some lineups. I am doing that moving forward. Just rewarding those people that decide to financially support me. So anyways, let me take a look here at the chat. I see a lot of chats that came in. Nobody wanted the nobody wanted to participate with the roll call from earlier. Okay, that's fine. Wheels Up said, "Did you see who they added to the field? It's Suber." Great, I know. I forgot to add him, or I forgot to add the 6 golfers to the website. The 6 golfers are in the cheat sheet, by the way, for all those that are interested in the Google sheet, that is. They're all added here. They're also added on my sheet that I will be using to go over the Marquee Tee Times coming up here pretty soon. Ryan says, "I did the roll call earlier." I don't see it. I do not have it on my chat, bud. I could give you a screenshot. I don't see, all I saw is you say, "What's up?" That's all that I have from you is "What's up?" I don't have anything else, Ryan. AJ Love. Yeah, I got you, AJ. Yeah, I did. I have Wheels Up and AJ. Those are the only 2 guys that responded to my roll call question. Okay. Let's see here. John Bizzle says, "I'm going to bank it." Appreciate you. Perfect. Do you, I hope you remember what your totals are. I'm not keeping track. I know you've won at least 2, if not 3. So I know that's going to be at least $15. Oh no, I think you won I don't remember, but I'll take your word. I know it's not 100. I bet you it's somewhere like, I don't know. I'm not going to guess, but I kind of know where it's at, but I'm not positive. Lombardi Lee, I think I said hi to you already. AJ says I'm promptly live. AJ goes, I won $20 last week off of 50 cents. There you go, bud. Kind of had a little slump there for a little while. Was in the top 10 until Siwoo fell apart. Ah, oh, that sucks. 10-second Tom. Mr. Marlowe, what's going on? I'm late, but I'm here. Right on time, buddy. Right on time. New guy in the back. It's all about the model. That 2 weeks now that you've mentioned up the big guy? Anyone else get snowed in? They can expect us to go tomorrow back to work and such, and we cannot get out. No plows have been through the back roads. We got 15 inches. Wow. That's a lot, dude. I'm in Minnesota, and all we got is sub 15 degrees out. It actually was sub 15 out. Dan Grands, is that Swipa? Is that Swipa YT? But it just now your name shows up instead. We got a ton here in DC area. Son has been off of school all week. Lucky. I wish Jobs would understand that. We can't get out because on top of the snow is all ice and you can't shovel it. That's right. That is true. Very true. MLK Kid, what's up? Or ML Kid, what's going on, man? Siwoo's been very good off the tee. Yeah, he has been. But that's what he's good at. He hits the ball so straight. Ryan says I did roll call earlier, and I said I didn't see that. Super, that's super. AJ says I did roll call. We got that. I think I did roll call as well. Typed my preferred lineup build. I'm just not seeing it, man. If you want to take a screenshot and send it to me through email or on X or something like that, then I can take a look, and then I can contact YouTube to be like, hey, you screwed up, man. Because I don't see anything from you or from Ryan, although both of you guys said that you did. All I have from JK is cool. That's all I have is cool. You went yellow. Your next message was cool. Already a bad situation. That could make this very much worse. I'm not feeling Siwoo, don't know why. That's all I have. Dan goes, yeah, my handle changed on here for some reason. That was my son's YouTube gamer tag. Ah, I see. Had 60s all. Oh, well, lucky you, Joanne. We could do 60. Okay. I guess besides Wheels Up and AJ, if you all want to put in your preferred lineup build, I kind of already mentioned it. Just put it in the chat. Oh, you know what? Okay, just type in the number 1. There is a potential that it is withheld your messages. Honestly, there's a potential, like if YouTube thinks that you said something, you know, offensive, which maybe numbers with dashes or how you guys did your numbers or whatever in chat, maybe it holds it back. Just type in the number 1. I will give you guys credit as if you were here an hour ago, or well, 45 minutes ago. But now I have to take one away from Wheels Up. I said you and AJ don't qualify. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get the people back that said that they did, but didn't get any credit for it. I will know that moving into the future. I won't ask you guys to do that. So Ryan, Lee, JK. Ryan, JK, Lee, AJ. Oh, and I gotta take AJ's back now too. Guys don't know how to follow instructions, man. Don't know how to follow instructions. All right, so that's Ryan, JK, Lombardi, John, and Joanne. Perfect. Okay. Anybody else that wants to be in the roll call? Perfect. But I am going to move on to the Marquee Tee Times, and then we're going to build lineups. So pay attention to the Marquee Tee Times, because the golfers that are in them, I'm going to ask you to anchor your lineups around those guys, as long as you've got one of those badges. One of those badges. Here we go. So you can follow along with me on the cheat sheet that is provided, the old school cheat sheet, the Google sheet, that again, you can find at the bottom of this cheat sheet page. So if you go to cheat sheet, you scroll all the way to the bottom to this cheat sheet and click here, that'll open up the Google sheet that basically I am looking at right now. So I would recommend putting a filter on that. There should already be a filter kind of built in. And I'll zoom in just a little bit more, just so you can see these a little bit better. How about one more from there? 165? There we go. That's perfect. 165 is the number. So these are the top groups based off of their sweet spot score, their cumulative sweet spot score, compared to the rest of the field. And the reason I go over this every single week is because out of dumb chance, I was recording this a long time ago, and what ended up happening is we kind of found a little pattern that 2 to 4 golfers from the Marquee Tee Times find themselves in either the optimal lineup or the GPP winning lineup or the sweet spot optimal. All three of those lineups, or all three of those lineups wins you a GPP. So another rule, or a rule that comes with this, is although you want to select 2 to 4 golfers to build your lineups around, you do not want to pair them together in the same group, that is, in the same group. So this first group of Xander, JJ Spawn, and Harris English, you could literally put, like, the salary this week is so soft that you could do Xander at 10.5, combine them with JJ Spawn, and still have a ton of salary left over. But when it comes to the Marquee Tee Times, we don't want to pair these guys up together. You do not want to put Xander with JJ or Harris English. Likewise, you don't want to put JJ with Harris or Xander, or, you know, any of those, any combination of them. You can, however, if you like JJ, combine them with Patrick Cantlay or Cam Young or Akshay Bhatia, because they're in a different group. They're in group 2. Group 1 was Xander, JJ, Harris English. Just pick one out of that group if you like any of them. And then the next group is Patrick Cantlay, Cam Young, Akshay Bhatia. So you'd only pick one out of that group. Following group has Bradley, Keegan Bradley, Chris Gotterup, and Adam Scott. Chris Gotterup, when I first saw him on the DraftKings roster, absolutely loved it. I wanted as much Chris Gotterup in my lineups as possible. As we just covered everything, especially the bucket system, I did not see Chris Gotterup show up once. That's it. I haven't seen him show up once. I would have definitely highlighted his name if I would have seen his name there. But he is a last week 6, so he would have been there. I must have just missed him. Again, yeah, last week 6. Yeah, there's Chris Gotterup right there. I must have just missed him. Name was too short. I was too excited about other golfers. I do like Chris Gotterup, by the way. Okay, so Keegan Bradley 9.2, Gotterup at 9,000, and Adam Scott 81. Adam Scott, I want to look at his. Oh my gosh, there we go. This is what I'm looking for. Adam Scott, just the last 7 weeks. I'm going to get rid of that filter. By the way, there is an eraser button down here that you can click and it will remove all the filters that you've already placed. But I'm going to keep it right here. We're good. We're good. We don't have to do that. But if I go down to $8,100, Adam Scott, he's coming into the event with a positive 0.862 strokes off the tee with a positive 0.557 on approach, which is freaking amazing. I watched him at the Sony Open throw darts. I didn't really get to see what he was doing at the American Express, but my oh my, does he suck with putting. He always has, but holy crap, is it terrible. It is awful. What did he finish? 8,100. Yeah, so 40th place at the Sony. He was near first place after round one. Or he was 3 under, I guess, and first place was 7 or 8. So he wasn't really, but he was throwing darts, like 8-footers all day and missed every single one. I kid you not, every single one. And then last week he finished 24th. I got no issue with Adam Scott, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Scott's a pretty good golfer to anchor your lineups around, as he anchors his putter to his chest. We all know. We all know. The next group with Jason Day, Hideki Matsuyama, and Justin Rose, that's pretty interesting because Jason Day is really good currently. 4th in my model at $9,600. It's hard to argue that you can find, or you can find better, I guess. Hideki Matsuyama, something about Hideki's game, I'm just not positive how I feel about it. Okay, no filters. We look at last year's stats. So Hideki is showing that he is a -5. Oh my God. So a strokes gain -5 means he has negative off the tee stats with negative putting stats. That's amazing. That's crazy. That Hideki is that way, because Hideki is usually really strong off the tee. If you look at the top of the leaderboard for salaries, he is by far the worst off the tee until you get to Denny McCarthy. It has a lot to do with being inaccurate, I imagine. If we went to strokes gain page, and instead of Hao Tong Lee, we take a look at Hideki. So we drill down on Hideki, and looking at the last year, we can see all of his stats that he's bringing into the event. Why is he so bad off the tee? We could probably look at driving accuracy and see a bit of a dip, but we don't. Driving accuracy, well, I mean, you want to be above 60%. 60% is going to get you positive off the tee stats, especially with how far he typically hits it, but he must be throttling back because his distance is terrible. Now, what we would really want to do to try to determine, is his distance really bad or is it just club selection, is we would take a look at all the events where driving distance should be good. He's lost a step, guys. 296 at the Rocket Classic. I am sorry, but the Rocket Classic is where the Bombers really shine with their driving distance. Is that injury related? Like, some of these courses you can actually pinpoint to club selection being the reason that his driving distance isn't very high. But it's not just driving distance that goes into off the tee stats. It's driving distance plus driving accuracy. But if you're hitting the ball shorter than you normally do and your accuracy still isn't good, that's a result as to why the off the tee stats are terrible. Okay. Super interesting. Super interesting. The next group is Mav McNeely, Will Zalatoris, and Wyndham Clark. All solid options. Even Will Zalatoris being injured, I think is fine. The next group after that is Ryan Gerard, Matt McCarty, and Andrew Novak. The group after that is Taylor Penrith, Kevin Yu, and Aldrich Potgieter. I actually really like Potgieter this week. And I like Taylor Penrith. Kevin Yu, I'm kind of iffy about. I don't like the fact that he withdrew from the Sony, and I think he was supposed to play at the American Express and then just didn't. Let's see, $7,300. Kevin Yu. Yeah, let's go to recent form. $7,300 Kevin Yu. He did play last week and he missed the cut. That is cause for concern. So too is Rico Hoey right underneath him, by the way. So yeah, not thrilled about that. Group 8. Oberg, Homa, and Brooks Koepka. Now, I had to manipulate Brooks Koepka's score because my model heavily weighs what you've done on the PGA Tour. And since he's been on live for as long as he has, his stats have just been awful. So I did have to manipulate it a little bit. I think I gave him like 200 points or something like that. So keep that in mind. But that's a good group. And I would have told you before streaming, I did not like Oberg. Like streaming today, that is. I was not into Oberg, but I did watch the Smiley Kaufman podcast with Oberg in it, and the things that they talked about and his excitement and just like overall happiness with playing Torrey Pines, hard for me not to go with Oberg, honestly. But I do think Max Homa. So I said I believe Max Homa is going to get 2 wins this year. I kind of can see this being a tournament he gets a win at. I do. I think if you want a one and done selection, I think Max Homa is a great choice this week. And then the last group is Alex Noren, Marco Penge, and Tony Finau. Finau has like the best course history of golfers that have more than 5 starts or something like that. Him and Jason Day are like really closely. Jason Day is either just behind him or just ahead of him, but Tony Finau would be next. Tony Finau has just not been good. So if we go back to this cheat sheet here, go down to Tony Finau, miscut heading into this event, 23.45 for his course history. And again, I think I can sort by course history. Okay, perfect. So yeah, here's Tony Finau right here. Look at this stretch of finishes. This has one of those scroll bars that slide over only because I have so many years of data. But he has 2 missed cuts, one in 2022 and one in 2025. And then there's Jason Day just below him, who has more missed cuts, but that's a lot of events. And I guess I didn't really see Keegan. Keegan's down there too. Keegan's just behind Jason Day. So too is Hideki Matsuyama. Probably ignore Brandt Snedeker here, but Gary Woodland, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. By the way, how do you guys feel about the new cheat sheet? You guys digging this? I've been having a blast going between cheat sheet and the bucket system. Like that worked out so much more efficient than I thought. By the way, this is free for you guys. This cheat sheet right now is free for you guys. All you have to do is go to the website. It's all you got to do. You can use this however you want. You can use this in combination with the other cheat sheet, you know, the Google sheet, and you can do all the filtering that way. So anyways. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're at that point. We are going to build lineups. We're going to start building lineups. 2 hours into it, Jesus. I want you to focus on the Marquee Tee Time guys. You don't have to. Again, I'm only building lineups for people who have a badge next to their name. Now, if you want to get a badge, you can help me out by giving me a like. And if we get to 25 likes on this stream, I will give out 5 memberships. But we need to get to 25 likes first. No, you asked them to repost and then asked us not to. Then you changed the game to number 1, so entered 1. Okay, I see you, Logan. Why not pair from the same group? Mr. Marlowe, I could go all the way back to the 2021 PGA Championship. And from that moment forward, of the golfers in the Marquee Tee Times. So how many years have we looked at now? Like we're approaching 6 years of data. I can count on one hand where golfers from the same group showed up either in the optimal lineup or the GPP winning lineup. Like it just doesn't happen that frequently. And that, again, that's not one of those quantitative stats that you can quantify. It's just it's an observation, you know, like because I've seen it so often, why would I do it, you know? And if I can put a percentage to it, like how frequently it doesn't happen, I would much go with the frequently doesn't happen bit of it. Yeah, I stopped updating all my spreadsheets, but actually here, I'll show you at the American Express last week. I actually did update this one. Here are your Marquee Tee Times. There were only, I mean, it's always the top 9 groups, and there were, you know, the groups were of 2 golfers last week. I don't have the optimal lineups in here for this page, but if I go here, so I can tell you right now, Jason Day was in the optimal. So too is Scotty Scheffler. Let's keep a reminder on Gerard and McCarty because they might be in these lineups as well. But there's Scheffler. There's Jason Day. Here's Ryan Gerard. So you had 3 golfers in the optimal lineup. They didn't play together. Scheffler was in group 3. His playing partner missed the cut. J Day was in group 4. His playing partner Alex Noren missed the cut. Gerard he was in group 6, and his playing partner finished 24th. So those 3 guys were in the optimal lineup. And I don't see Matt McCarty in the, and again, there's 3 of them. There's 3 guys. I said 2 to 4. Another perfect reason as to what I just don't know. Again, you can't quantify it, but it's there always. It's always there. Okay. Sorry. Here are your Marquee Tee Times. And I asked you guys to pick 2 to 4 golfers and not pair them up together. Hopefully that makes it easier to see. All right, Ryan is going to be the first one, looks like. JK says, looks fantastic. Appreciate the feedback, JK. Thank you. My dummy lineup is Day, McNeely, Flanu. Is that supposed to be Finau? I don't know what FLANUE stands for. Flanu. Day, McNeely, Gerard, Stevens, and Scott. So I think I'm optimal. Okay. Finau. I see. Day Finau. Lombardi Lee, Hideki, Adam Scott, and Cam Young. All right. Mr. Marlowe says makes sense. Perfect. What's the base optimizer on your page saying? What's the base optimizer? Base optimizer. I'm not sure what you mean by that. The base optimizer. Can you rephrase that? I'm not positive what you mean. Okay, so Ryan wants Xander. I think is a great choice. Hideki. Oh yeah, you know what? We need to put some music on. We need to put some music on. Let me know if it's too loud. Okay, so we got Xander, Hideki, Alex Noren, and Higo. Found them. And Higo. All right. So I'll build you 5 lineups. I'll build everyone 5 lineups. Just if you click, if not picking any specific player. Oh. Let me open up the other optimizer. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But because that's kind of a pain in the butt to kind of re-update, I'm just gonna open up the optimizer that I sent to everybody. This is the optimizer I sent to everybody. There are no locks in here. I'm gonna use the buckets. I'm gonna keep the buckets the same. You can hit run optimizer and you'll see what the most optimal lineup is. It's Xander Schauffele, Ryan Gerard, Jake Knapp, Sam Stevens, Aaron Rye, and Billy Horschel. That is the base optimal. That other one that I was showing you, that has more. That was when we ran the 10-9-8-7-7-6. So this lineup here, when I forced the optimizer to pick a 10K, a 9K, an 8K, 2 7s, and a 6, this is the lineup it came out with, which is also pretty darn good. Xander, J-Day, Ryan Gerard, Stevens, Brennan, and Ryo Hisatsune. I really like that. All right, Ryan, here we go. 5 lineups for Mr. Henson. First lineup is Xander Hideki, Noren, Michael Thorbjornsen, Higo, and Potgieter. What a lineup, dude. 10-9-8-7-7-6. And again, we didn't even force that. That is a hell of a lineup. I am going to resave my my exposures over here because I need to open this up just a little bit more. I think the best way to do is 50% into 33. Actually, let's go 41. Let's do 33%. And we'll go down to the 8K range. In the 8K range, we'll go to 25%. And this is just me opening up these exposures a little bit more so we don't really get hamstrung by some of these. And I'll go down to 7,200. And we'll do 15%, I guess, for this, down to 7. And let's do 10, I guess. Down to 66. We'll go 5 down to 62. And I'm going to keep 2 for everything else. Perfect. There. I'm good now. Sorry for the delay. You think that's good for a work league? Just one lineup, highest point total wins? Yeah. I'll be quite honest with you. Any of the lineups that the optimizer spits out, if you like them, pick them. I literally, Wednesday nights, I think you were with me last Wednesday. And if not, my apologies. But Wednesdays, I build lineups, my own lineups, and I show people my own strategies as when it comes to, you know, building those lineups. Every lineup it gives me, I judge it and I go, do I like that lineup or not? Most of the time I like the lineup. And actually last week, all I did is I just went click and save 10 lineups. That's literally what I did. Run and save 10 lineups. That's all that I did. Because I didn't care. I didn't care what the optimizer gave me. I was going to live with it because I know it's doing its job. Your next lineup, Ryan, is Xander Hideki, Alex Noren, Sam Stevens, Garrick Higo, and EVR. Don't hate it. I think EVR is a good fit for this course. Then it's Xander Hideki, Noren, Higo, Batia, and Sammy Valimaki. That seems pretty good too. That's a really good lineup. Xander Hideki, Noren, Higo, Novak, Michael Brennan. You know what? We fixed the soundboard, and sir, you deserve one of these. With that lineup, That's a sexy lineup. That deserves a song. That deserves a sexy song. We're gonna highlight that one, buddy. Do I have the paint it red on there? Sure do. Or paint it black. Me painting it black is like, I gotta have that lineup. That is a great lineup. I'm not a huge fan of Damon, but I'm going to say this. I said this to you one time before. This is just ugly enough to be good. You won a GPP one time saying that, but then I also said it much more times than that time. And because I'm probably trying to force the issue, maybe this isn't a good lineup. But if you like Joel Damon, that one's fine. If you need a consolation lineup, here you go. Here's a consolation. Karl Phillips. Yeah, sign me up. I think he made the cut last week, right? 6,400. Karl Phillips. Recent form. Yeah, dude, he top 20'd. He was one of my favorite 6K golfers. If you guys were with me during the members only stream Wednesday night, I was building Scotty Scheffler lineups that included Andrew Putnam and Karl Phillips. They just, the research I was able to do, the extra research, that one extra day from Tuesday to Wednesday, showed me if I wanted to build Scotty lineups, I should be okay picking golfers $6,300 and below. And of the $6,300 golfers that I've seen at the American Express in previous years, you wanted veterans or rookies. And it was like, it's a no, for me, it was like a no-brainer. Blades Brown even showed up, by the way. I kid you not. Kid you not. Go watch Wednesday stream. Go watch Wednesday stream. If you are a white tier member and above, which that's what you need to be in order to see those videos, you will see me build those lineups. I built a Blades Brown lineup later on in the stream, and I was like, I can't do this. Can't do it. I saved it, but I didn't put it in a lineup. Okay, Mr. Henson, those are your 5 lineups, sir. If you like Phillips, there you go. Let's see. Mr. Marlowe says, I didn't use your lineup last week and I did terrible, but I went back and looked at the lineup and added the score. Would have finished 3rd, so I think I'm going to use your information. Okay, sounds good. It's much better than anything I can do. I don't know enough about golf. Hey, there we go, man. There we go. Appreciate it. Hey, if I can help, all the better. All right, Mr. Henson, thank you for your lineups. He's in bed, it sounds like. Okay. AJ, I believe you just said Day Finau, right? That's it? Jason Day and Tony Finau, you're going with the best course history guys? You're going with both of them. I do like Day, and I don't mind Finau. It's good. Hey, actually, maybe it's a good reason to get back to Finau. Tony Finau, where he be now? All right, here we go. 5 lineups for you, sir. We start with Jason Day into Harris English, Gerard, Jake Knapp, Billy Horschel, and Finau. That's fine. No issues there. Day, I don't want to go into English again, but that's not a terrible lineup. If you want to save that one, go for it. Patrick Cantlay, Jason Day, Ryan Gerard, Aaron Rye, Tony Finau, and Emiliano Grillo. That one's okay. I don't have an issue with that. I think Ryan Gerard's going to... Oh, nope, he can't be picked this one. Okay, good. I was going to say, he's probably going to continue to get picked until I got to kick him out. Cantlay, Day, Bradley, Billy Horschel, Tony Finau, Michael Brennan. Here's what I'm going to do. I think what I want is go 10, 9, 8 into that 7. I don't want to see lineups like this. This is perfect. It's a little too much Billy Horschel love, but that's fine. We got Cam Young, J Day, Hendrith, Thorbjornsen, Horschel, and Tony Finau. That one's good. That one's fine. Lots of Michael Brennan love here. Cantlay, Day, Gerard, Rye, Finau. I think we just built this one, right? I'm going to kick out Gerard. Try this again. Interesting. Cantlay, Day, Pendrith. Love that. Rye, Finau, Jaeger. It's okay. I think this is going to be actually a pretty decent course for Jaeger. But let's kick out Rye. We're seeing too much representation of Rye and Gerard. Next lineup is Cam Young, J Day, Adam Scott, Stevens, Thigala, and Finau. You know what, sir? You get one of these for that lineup. Oh yeah, that's a great lineup. We got a good one. The last one was a good one. I do like that lineup. That was good. Okay, so it's Day, Finau, Lombardi, Lee. Lombardi wants Hideki, Adam Scott, Cam Young. Hideki, Adam Scott, Cam Young. I actually really like this lineup, man. Those are three solid choices. Three very solid choices. Thanks was walking my dog. That's all right, dude. Hopefully you liked all of them. I didn't really give you an opportunity to say kick whatever golfer out, so if you do have issues, let me know. All right. Lombardi Lee, here we go. Building you 5 lineups with 3 good golfers. Oh, I need to kick out Finau. Don't mind me. If you like Finau, this isn't a terrible lineup. Just throwing that out there. And then I also want to change this. Okay. There you go. First lineup. Young, Matsuyama, Gerard, Scott, Brennan, and Grillo. I don't hate it. I don't like a 10-9, 2-8s, but it's fine. Yeah. I guess this is fine too. Young, Matsuyama, Knapp, Scott, Stevens into Steven Fisk, Stevens into Steven. That one's fine. Okay, this is kind of the route we're gonna continue to go. Let's kick out Thigala. If you like that one, lovely. Interesting lineup here. I actually don't hate this. Young, Matsuyama, Gerard, Scott, Thorbjornsen, Lanto, Griffin. Listen, you could do worse than Lanto. Trust me, you could do worse. I actually don't mind that at all. Same goes with Kanaya, but I don't want Rico. Rico, he withdrew because he was sick, apparently, but also his golf swing looks awful right now. And I don't know what he's working on or what he's doing, but I don't trust it. I don't trust it. Who do you feel is your top guy this week, says Mr. Marlowe? Let me get back to you on that. I'm not sure just yet. Lombardi says Cam Young, or not says, but here's a lineup for you. Cam Young, Matsuyama, Pendrith, Scott, Grazerman, sure, and then Davis Riley. Hey, man. I think Davis Riley still has a good pedigree upon him. Like, I don't mind a lineup like that. We are not doing another Steven Jaeger lineup for you, though, so we'll skip that one. Gary Woodland's fine. So it appears going with like a Cam Young, Matsuyama, Adam Scott lineup invites another 8K golfer to the mix, which I kind of would rather have 2 7Ks. Let me do a different one. I don't like that. I hate when it does that stuff. Oh my God, seriously. All right, well, this is how we're gonna do this then. Let's give me 2 high 7K golfers. There are several golfers we can choose. Marco Penge could be one of those guys. Yeah, see something like this. Matthew McCarty, Aaron Rye, Ricky Castillo, that's fine. Castillo, you know, hits the ball pretty far. Pretty decent, actually. You hope Gary does well? Okay. So you liked the Gary Woodland lineup. Sounds good. I'm actually going to force Marco Penge into this lineup and see what happens. Yeah, that's a pretty good lineup. Young, Matsuyama, Scott, Stevens, Penge, and then Horschel. I think someone like Horschel can do well at this golf course. So, yeah. I think that's my last lineup, honestly. What do we got for a like total? I didn't even look. Not enough. Am I competing with anybody at this time, I wonder? I have no idea. $12 likes. We're only at 12. That's all right. All right, Mr. Marlowe, who do you feel is your top guy this week? So I kind of look at that question as who has the highest upside and the safest floor. And to me, I think that is Xander Schauffele. Now, if you were asking me who's my favorite play this week, I would say Max Homa is my favorite play. But I have a ton of guys that I like. A ton of guys. I think what's going to end up happening, what you guys will see tomorrow, when I build lineups, my 10Ks are going to be equally drafted or equally created. I'm going to have nearly each one of these guys at 25%. And I don't think I'm going to pair up. I might pair up a couple lineups with 2 10K golfers, but outside of that, I don't think I'm going to do a lot of 10Ks. Then from there, I really like Goddard up in the 9K range. I also like Jason Day, and I don't mind playing Matsuyama or Keegan Bradley. But, I mean, Goddard up is going to be my top 9K choice, and then it's Day, and then it's Bradley, and then it's Matsuyama. From there, going into the 8K range, like I said, I really like Homa. Jake Knapp is growing on me. He shows up in a lot of the lineups that I kind of built right before jumping online. And I really like Jake Knapp, and just because he played well at the Sony, I just don't see how a guy with his skill set is going to be bad choice at this event. There's a lot of, I really think $7,300 and up have, like, they're very good choices. Very good choices and very important decisions. Like even Will Zalatoris at $8,800, that's a difficult choice to make. Because like we all know of his injury, but he's also such a good golfer that $8,800 might be too cheap for him. Yeah. AJ goes, since my dummy lineup is all Marquee Tee Time guys, I'm rolling with it. There you go, man. That's a thing. My dummy lineup, I always put in my qualifiers. So I always keep track to see how well it does. And last week it was pretty good until the 4th round. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm cool with ending the stream right now. I really have nothing else to add. I thought going over the buckets this week that was like prime. Felt like that was the best I've ever presented the buckets. And the best that I could provide that information for you guys. I think a lot of the golfers that you could find there, it's exactly what you want to go with, honestly. So go rewatch that if you missed out on it and have no idea what I'm talking about. Some of those golfers I think you should anchor your lineups around. Another thing that I will mention tomorrow night, I am gonna go. Let me do this. Tomorrow night, I am going live for members only. To watch that show, you need to be a white tier member and above. So if you haven't already became that on YouTube, do so. If any of my videos get to 25 likes, any of them, I will give out 5 memberships. So even if it's after the fact, you know, I have some videos out there from last week or a video from last week that's at 23 likes. You get 2 more to like that video, I'll give out 5 memberships, and that way 5 people will have the opportunity to watch those live streams. And maybe it's you, maybe it'll be you. I can't pick and choose. So, you know, help me, help you, and we're both happy. Any final questions before I call it a night? I'll give you guys 3 minutes to bring up anything and everything. Actually, I'm going to bring this back up. Anything and everything. You guys let me know. You got any questions? I will answer them. Reading a Marco Penge tweet, I did try and join a couple other clubs, but kind of got turned away a little bit. I was a little too casual, I think. I think he's talking about PXG. Bill Smart. Oh, I forgot to like. Just smashed it. There we go, man. I appreciate the stream. Give me hope I won't finish last. Well, I hope you don't finish last. And I mean that. I hope you don't finish last. We're going to move this over here. Put it right there. Kind of a light turnout for the golf this week, which is okay. It's okay. I think most of my lineups for tomorrow night is just going to start out 10, 9, 8, 7. Then give the opportunity for some 6s. And I mean, there were 0 lineups that really had Goddard up. What were the things that we saw? I'm gonna have to go watch the bucket system again. I put some good information out. Oh yeah, last year ones. Last year ones. Novak, Stevens, Gerard, Hotgeater. Were last year ones mostly 10Ks again? I can't remember. Yeah, they're all pretty high priced. Some 7Ks, but everybody is pretty much $8,800 and above. Close to 10. Lots of missed cut recent forms, by the way. Does that translate? Not at all. 2 guys, Patrick Reed, 10-1, and Cameron Tringali. So that's, yeah, but nobody else. Scott Stallings, but nobody else. So those guys that missed the cut last week. And really, nobody with missed cut recent form would you want to choose. So that kind of eliminates Hosler, Ventura, Valimaki, Clanton, even Potgieter. Oof. That's kind of that's a blow. Listen, I say all that stuff, but I will play Potgieter at least in the 3% that I have allotted for him. That also kind of eliminates Novak. Does good recent form then do the trick? Good recent form and good finishes from last week? Yeah. Good recent form here, good recent form there. I mean, that's like top tier guys, right? 29, 31, 6.5, 38, 18, 1, 22, 6, 8. Missed cut. 53, 17.5, 7, 6. So yeah, really good recent form. Really nothing worse than 51. And we would want 40 and less. 41 and less. So Joel Damon actually works. That lineup I built for Ryan Henson that had Damon in it, that would work. Castillo would work. Hodges is, nope, he is that missed cut. But yeah, Sam Stevens, for sure. Gerard, sure, why not? Penrith is just above it, so I'm going to skip that. But Harris English works. And technically so does JJ Spawn. Does the course history also match all that stuff? Course history, there's 151, 48, 46, 58. Everything else is pretty low. You know what? No. Those 40s and 50s, those are course history 4s. Or course history 3s. Course history 3s. So that's JJ Spawn. That's Harris English. So those guys are still both live. Novak would fit in there, but that's maybe too high. Hosler, no, can't do that anymore. Joel Damon. Joel Damon fits that again. Joel Damon fits that again. Shoot. Listen, here are your live guys for last year ones. Damon, Castillo, Stevens, Gerard, English, and Spawn. Those are the guys that I would, if you want to put money into, I think it all fits. I don't know what you can get for, you know, like top 20, top 40 market for Damon and Castillo. Got to be good, right? Oof. Okay. Logan says, good night. Good night to you, man. Mr. Marlowe, what time do you start your stream tomorrow? 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So 10 p.m. Eastern. AJ Love, everyone works until they suck. That's true. All right, guys. I think that's it, though. So appreciate you all for watching. Oh, that's not the right one. This is the right one. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like on your way out if you haven't. And I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.